What is up, guys? Let's take a trip down to Egypt and take a look at the pyramids there. First of all, you have to know that there are hundreds of pyramids in Egypt, but we want to look at the biggest one there and see how it was built, even though there was no technology back then. The biggest pyramid in Egypt is named Great Pyramid of Giza, and Giza is a town next to the capital of Egypt, Cairo. It might not seem like it, but this thing is giant. It has a height of 146 meters, and they used 2.3 million blocks to build this thing. But let's go see how it was actually built. What's the most important thing when you're trying to build something? The foundation. And this thing with this much weight has an amazing foundation. If it didn't have an amazing foundation, it would have fallen by now. The awesome thing about this foundation is that it's a true north and south foundation. So if you look at it from north to south, it's perfectly north to south. And since it's a square foundation, the east and west is also true. The awesome thing about this is that there was no compass back then, and they found north and south with the stars. But however they found it, they were really perfect, and they built it perfect. Whoever was the engineer in building this thing was definitely good at math. Most of the blocks you see on this pyramid is yellow limestones. When this thing was new, on top of the yellow limestone was smooth limestone. It was written in history that when there was the smooth limestone on top of it, it would shine bright like a mirror. But over years, all those smooth rocks were stolen, and there's none left. You know what's the weird thing about building this thing? Cutting and laying the blocks. Because back then, they didn't have steel tools, and the only metal that was available was copper. And as you know, copper is really soft. So basically, they carved the rocks with copper tools, which is really hard. Statistics show that if you want to build this thing in 23 years, for every 8 days, you would have to fill up an Olympic swimming pool with limestone blocks. But inside the pyramid, it's a little bit weirder. It was built with granite, and as you know, granite is an extremely hard rock. How do they cut the granite? Scientists believe that they would cut the granite with a special rock, and they would use a dolerite rock. Dolerite is a volcanic rock and has different names like microgabbro or diabase. Even today, when you want to cut granite, you would have to use special tools, and it's really time consuming. But back then, they used these rocks to cut granite. Somebody told me, do you know how they were able to do this? Because they didn't have internet. Back then, everybody was focused on their job. But now, everybody's focused on their phone. Nobody right now is gonna cut granite with no rocks. But let's go outside and see the exterior rocks. In video, the blocks might seem small to you, but each one of these rocks are 1 by 2.5 meters and 1.5 meters in height, and each one of them weighed between 6.5 to 10 tons. So where did they get these blocks? From 900 kilometers away. The blocks will go on a boat and sail through the Nile until it gets to Giza. So how would they transport the blocks from the Nile to Giza? For this job, they would use heavy-duty sleds. Old drawings showed that when they wanted to move heavy stuff, they would use sleds, and with a lot of people, they would push and pull. You might think that it would get stuck to the ground, but when they wanted to move heavy stuff, they would wet the sand, and sand would get more slick and smooth, and then you could easily slide it across the sand, but with thousands of workers that would pull and push. When they were pulling and pushing the sled, some people's job was just to pour water in front of it. Historians believe that it was not only humans that were pulling and pushing these blocks. They would use animals as well, like donkeys and cattle. So until now, everything seems to work out. They built the foundation and built a couple stories of blocks. So the higher they go, this is supposed to get harder and harder. How would they take these extremely heavy blocks up there? There are a lot of theories on how they did this, but they are not sure on any of them because there's no sign of how they did it anywhere. No drawing, no writing, or no ramps that they used to bring these blocks up, or no cranes that could lift 10 tons of blocks 146 meters high. In conclusion, there is no idea on how they did that. A lot of people say slaves did all this work, but a lot of people disagree, and they say if slaves were to do this, it wouldn't be this perfect, and they would not stack the blocks this good. Because the blocks are stacked so well, you can't even put a credit card in between them. They say around these pyramids, there was a city, and the people of the city were extremely proud to help the king build this amazing pyramid. And that is why everybody would help out. Ancient Egyptian culture shows us that they worked for the future. Pretty much why they did mummies, because in the future they thought they were gonna come back. That's why they built these pyramids, because they wanted their city to survive. And you should also know that a building that is built like a pyramid, it's the strongest building ever, and no hurricane, earthquake, or flood is gonna destroy it. Especially when the foundation is extremely done well. Whoever gave the idea to build these pyramids knew that these things are not gonna fall for a very long time. The information we gave about these pyramids is the confirmed and most logical thing there is, but it's still incomplete and there's so much to learn. And since there's not much information about it, there's a lot of conspiracies as well. The most famous conspiracy about the pyramids is that the aliens came to Earth and built these giant pyramids. Even though this theory doesn't make any sense, it has a lot of fans. And those people also say that at that time, people could never build something like this, especially lifting 10-ton rocks up 140 meters. And even with today's technology, doing something like this is extremely hard. They say they started building the Pyramid of Giza in 2580 BC, and after 26 years, it was finished. But remember, just this pyramid alone has 2.3 million blocks. This building was the tallest building for 3,800 years. How do you think it was built? Please leave us a comment.